I thought I would just take a moment to explain why I'm actually taking the time to go through the Oera Linda book as a sort of narrated audiobook style presentation. And yeah, I mean, there's many reasons not to, but there's even more reasons why I would want to. So let's start first with why I would be cautioned against it by conventional wisdom. Number one, a brief internet search about the Oera Linda book will bring up probably the first results saying that it's a fraud, that it's just a racist nationalist piece of forgery from from the 19th century. You'll also find plenty of people saying on the internet, oh, well, Goebbels used it in his propaganda campaign in the 1930s. And that's also something to be addressed. And lastly, if you dig a little bit deeper, you can see even that not everyone even knows about like Christian identity, British Israel sort of stuff. They try to use the book as well to make claims about their original identity or whatever it is. So, yeah, those are the reasons why one would not want to, because you don't want to be worried about people slagging you off as a racist or whatever. But if you go through Dr. J. Otema's introduction and you look at the proofs that he gives, and if you were to dig even deeper, find some of the other information that was written about in the scholarly debates from the early period of this book's revealing to public, sort of those 1860s, 70s, and around that time, you'll find some pretty good back and forth arguments, and plenty of people who are going to agree one way or the other. We're always compelled to make our own decisions about these things. I suppose one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to read this book in the first place was because of clairaudience and other synchronicities, actually. I used to be very involved in listening to Red Ice Radio. First came across them when they were still doing lots of like hidden technology, health, conspiracy angle stuff. Then I feel like there's a shift in Red Ice Radio, definitely around 2013-14. The character and the tone of the organization changed significantly. I think the stripe of the different people that they had on for interviewing changed as well. Shortly thereafter, I didn't subscribe to them anymore. But I did come across one gentleman who, funny enough, his name is Jan Ott, similar to Dr. J. Otema. I haven't figured out if that's a pseudonym name or a pen name in kind of a modest tip of the hat to the original translator. But you can find this guy, you can find his interview on Red Ice Radio, and I'll probably link it as well. The first hour is always available. I'm kind of kicking myself. I should have saved the second hour when I was a member of the website, because there's some good information always in the second hours. It's not available to the general public without a membership subscription. So, sorry, I got my little dog here. She's my little shadow. He's always clingy. So, yeah, clairaudience. So once I heard of this book, and that particular podcast was no more remarkable or less remarkable than any of the other ones I'd listened to that week. And I was typically listening to like one a night almost as kind of my outro sort of white noise, which I'm starting to try to get away from, but not doing the best job of it right now. I'm still kind of listening to stuff on my laptop as I fall asleep. So once I heard about this book, I had the name rattling around in my head a lot. Oera Linda, Oera Linda, Oera Linda, Oera Linda, Oera Linda. It was rummaging through my brain for hours a day sometimes. And this must have been early 2015. No, early 2016? Yeah, sorry, early 2016. Late 2015, early 2016. Somewhere in there. And then I started to meet a lot of people named Linda, especially during the summer of 2016. And every time I met someone named Linda, I'd be like, okay, I need to read that book, because I'd have a pang of knowing, kind of that resonance moment of thinking, oh yeah, okay, I'll do it. And I was procrastinating. I had found a PDF, which I think I've linked already before a few times, and I just hadn't got around to reading it yet. And I wasn't sure what was holding me back, some sort of inertia. Then, and I don't exactly mind saying this because it's a bit of I'm kind of doxing myself with this next statement, telling you the postal code of the place I'm currently sitting in. But in June of last year, I moved to a house with my father, and the postal code, if you know anything about Canadian postal codes, it's letter, number, capitalized in the case of the letters. So 6 digits. And the place that I moved into here, the postal code was L9R0E4. Now, I've done different exercises and puzzles and little brain teasers and stuff in the past where they show you words where the letters are all jumbled up, and you're supposed to come up with what is that actual word based on the letters that are in there. And my mind, I guess, is quickly assigned sort of phonetic quality to the numbers. I quickly jumbled everything, and in that postal code, L9R0E4, I saw the name Oera Linda. So that was the last straw for me. I just laughed a little bit, opened up the PDF document and started reading it. And started reading it on my phone, too, when I would be sitting around or standing around the grocery store line or in my car waiting for someone, anywhere. I was just suddenly totally taken in by needing to go through the knowledge and information in this book. Now, I apologize that so far this playlist has been kind of bland, because really the first 17 pages of the PDF are quite bland. It's a preface and an introduction, but I didn't want to skip around and mess around with it. I just wanted to go from top to bottom. So the next videos that I'll do are going to be the actual meat of the document. Starting with the book of Adela's followers, and yeah. So I found the book to be quite inspiring, actually, really inspiring, because first off, it was confirmed for me by a bunch of different streams of knowledge kind of converging. I'll hijack this word from those cultists. It was quite an intersectional moment for me, shall we say. So, yeah, I recall being in a psychotherapy school that I was in for 1 year before my radical views got me in trouble and I had to leave the school. Yeah, so in that school year, we were taught about a Lithuanian, I believe she was Lithuanian, one of those Baltic countries, archaeologist and professor named Maria Gimbutas, and her research and philosophies and theories were presented to us in the span of one class, or one of the days of a weekend class, and we were shown different videos about her and her work, and essentially it was going over how, by her reckoning, and the meticulous exhuming of a few archaeological sites, mainly in Eastern Europe, like Romania, Bulgaria, Greece kind of area, the Slavic areas, the yeah. So those areas, they uncovered a bunch of fossils, not fossils, artifacts from those areas, and 90% or more of the icons, the little images and idols and such, and representations of something more than the mundane, they were all representations of female sort of deity characters, or femininity, or fertility, like very accentuated bosoms and such. And there were very few implements of war, if any. And so then, of course, the claim was made by all these radical feminists, of course. Look, there's the modern, or sorry, the modern European people are so violent and warlike because they were, the patriarchal culture from the steppe warlords came in and from the east and brought with them the iron and the horse. And that's what made it all aggressive. And before then, it was a feminist utopia. And men had this subordinate role, and females were in charge of everything. Look, this is how the ancient European hunter-gatherers were. Okay, cool theory. Now, I forget where exactly in the book, but in the Oera Linda book, it mentions one of the various tribes of these people who considered themselves Frisians as kind of an overarching cultural genetic group. They described some of the people who lived a little closer to the Balkans, and those people, they considered them quite simple, but still Frisians. Now, all of these different idols and such, I'm pretty sure that in this book it kind of discourages idolatry and whatnot. It's a very monotheistic religious system. But those are icons and images of Freya, their mother. And the implementations of war, those probably wouldn't have been necessary, being that these people were so landlocked for so long. And yeah, sure, absolutely. The Magyar, as this book calls them, as these people call themselves. And it's interesting that Magyar is still the sort of the local term, or the self-identifying term for Hungarian, Hunnic people. So take it as you want. The Hunnic people, the Magyar, their ancestors, at the very least, are talked about ad nauseum. Chasing her calm down. That's what the bouncing noise is. She's trying to get food out. She's like a little crow. Kind of smart. Actually brilliant. So yeah, I believe that the book corroborates the material evidence, the archaeological record, in the regard that men in that society, in that sort of landlocked Eastern society, or Eastern European Paleolithic society, surely, yeah, it would have been before one of these deluge bad times that they quote in the book a few times, which I'll make a video at some point talking about how I feel those connect to other ancient myths and current times and everything. So forgive my little dog for her nuisance. She doesn't really understand that I'm doing something right now, and I don't want to cage her. I try not to these days unless she's really muddy. But okay, back on track. Yeah, Maria Gimbuta's material is definitely corroborating the Frisians. The fact that Frisian culture has been demolished everywhere else and totally hidden from any kind of record is quite indicative of the thoroughness with which the ancient sites and any sort of books were all collected, if not sequestered, then destroyed. Definitely the physical remnants of any sort of citadels, as spoken about in the book, they would have been smashed and absolutely gotten rid of, because one or both of the introductory letters by members of the the Oera Linda family quite literally state, like, don't let monks see this. The priests and the princes are basically going to destroy us if they can, because we represent a threat to their slave, their feudalistic sort of designs for autocratic hegemony over this world, and they are out of alignment, out of balance. Come here. Oh, my little baby. So, yeah, okay. Yes. So back to the original question, why am I interested in this book? It ties in a huge missing gap of information for me. I was quite heavily involved in Germanic heathenry for about 2 years. Another thing that I learned about through Red Ice Radio, and the work of a gentleman that I studied under for a considerable amount of time, named Daniel Updike, and he's an upstanding gentleman. I value his work and him very much. What rubbed me the wrong way, though, and continues to, and I feel like anyone who really wants to be intellectually honest with themselves needs to recognize that paganism is a universal import to Europe, much as Christianity. People want to be on the whole pagan, like, oh, I want to wear my Mjolnir and show that I'm a proud European nationalist, or whatever. It's like, okay, you're wearing an older universalist symbol than even the cross. And the hammer of Ferun, or Per, or whatever, is something used in Slavic mythology and paganism. So I'm interested in authenticity when I found out, okay, well, it's another import. And Woden, actually, if you were paying attention to the introduction, it's mentioned. His name is mentioned. He's a character in this book. Or, like, it's not written like a novel or anything, but there's a serious chapter dedicated to who was Woden. And I didn't quite appreciate having this character, Odin, the Allfather, presented to me as this infallible. He was never presented as infallible. I'm not gonna say anything untrue here, but like the Allfather. Really? Why should I consider a Frisian tribes leader who had some minor successes in reclamation campaign, but then fell sway to seduction and idolatry? Why should I consider that person my Allfather? Why should I venerate Tyr or Thor? Why should I concern myself with legends that take Freya, the archetypal mother character, and I'll be going into the material where it describes her nature and what historical record that they keep of her life and deeds and words. But if you look at what the Oera Linda Book says about their archetypal mother Freya, and what the Poetic and Prose Edda from the 13th century says about Freya, it beggars belief, honestly, how anyone who loves justice and truth can stand for such a character defamation, really. Like, it supersedes parody or slander. It's totally... I don't know, I know I'm going to be pissing off a lot of pagans by saying these things, but guys, like, take things into context. Just like, do you really want to build your foundation on quicksand? That's full of considerable rocks, sure, but it's not bed rock. It's not hard pan even. It's shifting. It's something that was controlled all along. Okay, enough of that. You'll find them kind of tangential. I'll keep going in concentric circles like a spirograph until I finally reach my conclusion. So I'm reading this book, I'm narrating this book, I'm studying this book, I'm presenting it because I feel like this is a legitimate or close enough, I don't know, if this is a falsehood, if this is a fraud, then it's certainly put out there using actual source material, much like the Bible is a compilation of various ancient texts all collected together and curated for a specific purpose. So, yes, I know I haven't addressed the other things yet that I meant to regarding, well, I might as well quickly say it now. Goebbels, I'm pretty sure he said once, propaganda must be true. The best propaganda has to be true. And I'm sure that he didn't say everything truthfully. I'm no Goebbels fan. However, his use of this book and this information, this material, in his propagandizing of the German people in the 1930s and 40s to build up their pride, their folk pride. When you're building up folk pride, you have to use quite powerful, genial things. Otherwise, people are going to see it's as corny as all this Bill Nye crap these days and this forced narrative that's being shoved down our throats. Like, people revolt against corny, fake crap. It has to have enough root to at least appeal to their gut to some sense. If someone's gut is totally turned by something, you need even that much more mental spin to convince them of the validity of that. And sure, yeah, there's plenty of examples of really potent cults that have managed to do that, totally get everyone to ignore their gut. But maybe that's another reason why gut health is so bad these days. We're all full of candida. Oh, more concentric circles. So it's all part of the pattern, really. I feel like this is a significant clue. I trust my spiritual guides, whatever that means, whatever these entities or this subconscious drive is that has these things ringing in my ears, that has me moving into places that have these postal codes. It's obvious mnemonic or whatever, you know the word I mean. So, Oera Linda Book. Is it a fake? Am I wasting my time? Am I a racist asshole for reading this thing? Maybe. I'm never beyond any possibility. I work more in probabilities. What's the probability that's a raging fraud? Well, the book itself seems to be from the 1200s. If it's a really long game strategy, like serious long game strategy, then it's a good one. Really good one, because I'm pretty sure you can look out there now on YouTube or the web and see what sort of characters have infested the house of van der Linden these days, and what sort of material they present and put out. And yeah, so I'm not going to say this family's infallible, I'm not going to say this book is infallible, but I want to present this book in all of its rough glory, in all of its language that's clearly thousands of years old, clearly not caring for political correctness, and clearly not giving a damn if sensibilities and social justice is not upheld. So I'll read it. You can enjoy it, or you can try to report it, or whatever you'd like to do, and it's just going to keep rolling. Like, truth stands on its own. It doesn't need laws to prop it up. It doesn't need to be propped up in a scaffolding like a dying building. It puts roots down into the minds of people, heart and soul of people, into the social fabric. And truth is Obviously subjective too sometimes. but I'm going to keep reading this thing. If you guys keep liking, keep wanting to watch it, listen to it, then all the better. And I'll put out more controversial information soon too. And I'll put in more analysis videos. This one's getting kind of long now, 25 minutes, so I'm going to call it quits and try to be a little less ranty next time I make something. Try to look a little more towards the camera next time when I'm making something. But I'm no sticks, hex, and hammer just yet. I wouldn't necessarily ever try to rip off his style either. He's got a good flow and he knows where to look. But he always does this. And he's always doing this. You're not going to see any symbols, hand signals from me. You're going to see me pet my little dog as she comes around to bug me. Okay, thank you, audience, for watching. Thank you for coping. If you have any further questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to address things along the way. I can always make more videos. I'm going to be leaving this house soon, so the quality of videos is going to be a little bit poorer as I use this thing. There's less ability to video edit, so the readings will have more mistakes in them, and I'll just keep rolling rather than cut and poke things together as I make pronunciation errors and stuff and go back and tighten things up a bit. So thanks again. I'm going to cut myself off here now, otherwise I'll talk for another 26 minutes. And enjoy your day, everyone. Be well, and I don't really have any catch lines just yet, but just like, yeah, get involved in information. Start licking it and sniffing it and really getting sensual with it. Know if it's foul. See how your gut feels about information. See how information gets other people to respond in either a negative or a positive sense. Yeah, try to use as many litmus tests as you can, and take care of yourself while you're doing this, so you don't go crazy with too much information, and you don't launch yourself into paradigm breakdowns too frequently, because they suck, but they get easier. Just like life. Not really, but you know how it goes. So, enjoy your day, everyone. Goodbye.